Well, and I've been to a lot of different promotions, man. Obviously, I've fought for Bellator for years. I've been to all of them. I've been over in Japan for one championships. I've been to the small shows all the way to the UFC, and the UFC show is light years ahead of every other organization, and that's just the truth. It's my opinion, obviously, but it's to me, it's the truth, because they are entertainment business. They are in the entertainment business, not just the fight business. And that's what I love about them. They're constantly breaking barriers, constantly trying to tweak things and add new things to shows. It's awesome, man.
That's got to be a big reason why the organization plays such hardball on fighter pay, where they're just like, you guys don't even, like from their perspective as a business owner, like I do this because I love the sport. Like I'm in business. Like this is, like I do lots of other things. And as someone who's like owned businesses, it's very easy for me, or own businesses. It's really easy for me to see this from the perspective of the organization when they're negotiating with guys. And I can just tell everybody interprets things in the direction of their own self-interest. You can't help it. Everyone does it, like for every single thing. And if you owned the UFC and you'd been doing it for as long as you had, it would be very challenging for you not to see yourself as the value and the fighters as interchangeable, and that's not necessary. And I don't necessarily agree with that even a little bit. I think there are a lot of guys that absolutely transcend, I think that's true for some people and not for others, like guys who elevate, especially guys who find ways to do it that are disconnected from the UFC's promotional machine. You know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, well, I had that unique perspective, and I think that is a unique perspective that not many guys, I can't really think of too many guys, have had of having basically the bulk and majority of your career outside of the UFC, wondering what it's like over there, wishing I had that type of promotion, that type of eyeballs, that type of platform, that type of high stakes, that type of reputation, that type of legitimacy in the sport. And that's not to bash any other organization, but the UFC is the epitome of accomplishment inside of mixed martial arts. It's just the way that it is. And they've been around the longest, and every other organization rises with the tide that the UFC is continuing to invest in the sport. The UFC invests 100 times more money, time, energy, and resources into the sport of mixed martial arts, and therefore the rising tide raises all ships. And that's why there is other organizations that are growing at a minuscule amount every single year, and the UFC continues to double and then triple and quadruple, and then everyone throws stones at them like, hey, look at all your success, you need to pay people more, when really it was just their reinvestment of capital and time, energy, and resources back into the company. And as you said, if I was a young fighter, if I was to mentor young fighters, I would say, number one, it's great. It's always the best course of action to be a great employee first, and things will usually work out for you. And secondly, you are interchangeable. The show will go on without you. And as soon as you can make peace with that, then you can live to your fullest inside the sport and hopefully monetize it as much as you possibly can, and have financial freedom and have financial literacy and have a platform that will go away eventually. Don't waste it, and make the best out of it.
Yep. Yeah. The way I look at it is like, there are basically two ways that you can go to maximize your earning potential. One of them is to be a company man for the UFC. You see a lot of guys do that, and they have a lot of success. And the other way is to be adversarial. The only way that you can be adversarial and end up getting paid is if you do have genuine, real value, but more so not just value to the UFC, but value external of the UFC that you can threaten to go do otherwise. Where it's like with Francis. Okay, like Francis has a Tyson Fury fight. Okay, most guys don't have that. Like most guys, even if they got to where he is contractually, it's not like they have some, a Tyson Fury fight. Like they could be free agents. No, I'm a free agent. What's up, dude? Who wants to box me? And it's like, well, Tyson Fury doesn't, So it's like it's this really, really minuscule group of people who have the ability to make a genuine threat that they could go kind of. You almost have to be able to threaten to change the entire paradigm for the UFC to be on a back foot. And so, yeah, I mean, most of the time, I would probably recommend that people do what you can to be the best, employee that you can. And Dana seems to take care of people who take care of him, in my experience.
That, and you're also starting to see the emergence of a long game type of ego. It's okay to be confident in yourself, even egotistical, narcissistic, think you're worth a ton, but also see the long game. 2 examples. Sean O'Malley is doing a phenomenal job at building himself and not fighting the top guys. Sean O'Malley could have said, Dan, I want a title shot ASAP after his 3rd fight in the UFC. He probably would have got it. And then what would have happened? Maybe he wins. Best case scenario, he wins. Most likely scenario, he probably could lose. And then kind of what happens after that? He said, no, man, until I get another contract, I'm okay with the UFC offering me this contract. I signed it. It was a 6-fight deal, and I'm making this much or whatever it may be. I signed my name on the dotted line. I'm going to fight the guys that they put in front of me outside of the top 15, top 20. I'm going to keep on going out there, showing out, and building my star inside and outside of the octagon. Podcast, huge marijuana affiliation with all those different companies. The dude's getting paid outside of the UFC because he has monetized his brand. He's not complaining about fighter pay because he's self-sufficient. He's a self-starter, and he's making money outside of the UFC with the platform that the UFC has given him. Yes. And now you see Paddy Pimblett come out and say, no, I'm not going to fight anybody, in the top 10, top 15. And that's what the media does. They want to push these guys real quick. The pie in the sky, hey, you want to fight a top 10 guy? No, man, I'm on this contract right now. I'm going to keep fighting these guys. I'm going to keep getting my experience, and I'm thinking about the long game. These are things as, the toughest guys in the world are us mixed martial artists, right? We are known as the toughest guys in the world. With that comes a lot of ego, and they want to get pushed to the front of the line as quick as possible. And most of the time that doesn't usually work out that well for guys.
There can only be one.
Exactly. They think about the long game. Man, I'm going to be 36 in 12 days. I'm going to be 36 years old in 12 days. I've been in this sport a very long time. My road looks a lot different than a lot of guys that we're talking about now in the UFC. But I've always made the smartest business decision I possibly could with the information that I have, all the while being a good employee and keeping my nose clean, staying out of the negative headlines. And it's kind of worked out for me.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that's, yeah, I don't have almost anything to add to that, basically. It's
Did I just leave speechless? Did I just leave?
Yeah. Well, no, just like you covered it all, dude. It's like, that's exactly right. It's like they give you a huge platform. And I've always said, if you can get a certain level of notoriety and you can't turn that into monetary gain, you need someone in your camp that knows how to do that, because it's so easy. Like, it's so easy to turn notoriety into money now, because everyone needs to put their channel down, or, put their products or their services or whatever down a channel to someone who has reach. Your reach is valuable. The UFC puts you up here to where every time that you're on camera, you should be thinking to yourself, how can I brand myself? How can I make myself more visible? Like, my suggestion to all these guys that don't have any, that are kind of like, they're good fighters, but they look kind of the same as everyone. Dude, how dedicated to this are you? Put a huge samurai tattoo on your chest, just so that people remember who you are. Dye your hair purple. Do anything so that it's like, oh wait, that's the dude that's got the purple braids, or that's the dude that's got the samurai on his chest. Like, that's anything that makes you recognizable. And then because that's what your ultimate value is going to be. Like, you're not coming out of the UFC and getting a job for Goldman Sachs. That shit ain't happening, dude. Like, your notoriety is going to be the brand that drives you into the future, and it's how you're going to continue to make money in the future. It's like,
and it's never the guys who are self-starters and self-sufficient who are making money outside of the octagon who are ever complaining about fight pay, because those people don't rely just on the fight purses to make their living. They realize the opportunity that they have, and it's a blip on the radar. This UFC run that you may have, or your fight career, is this long in the lifespan of your entire life, and you have a very short window of opportunity to make the biggest splash that you possibly can. Try to make the best business decisions that you can. Try to build a huge brand and platform that will transcend just your mixed martial arts career, and make sure you have the right people around you.
Yeah. Now, that said, if I'm Francis, I'm taking that Tyson Fury fight in a heartbeat.
Yeah, what's going on with that? Why is he not made a decision yet?
He's still under contract.
So
he's the UFC champ clause until December, and he just had knee surgery. The reason, and now I'm hypothesizing, but the reason I think they won't do an interim, actually, I don't know how that works on interim, but I know that if they strip him, he's immediately a free agent. And so, and his contract ends in December, so he wouldn't be able to negotiate anything having to do with that until December anyway. So, but the UFC, you got to figure, if I'm the UFC and I know we're up against what's going to be a payday with Tyson that you're not going to be able to compete with on just a pure UFC contract, I would try to go and make it to where we co-promote that, lock him up after that, and that's what I would do.
That's cool. I mean, it's cool. It shows a little bit of a transitional thought in the sport. Obviously, Conor and Mayweather. If it makes money, it makes sense. If it's a good business decision for the UFC, for the fighter, and it's a win-win situation, that's where the rubber meets the road, man. Getting involved in win-win situations with any company, brand, promotion, boss, person that you possibly can in this life. So
absolutely. Are you going to coach when you're done?
Heck no.
Not even guys that are contenders? I asked Anthony Smith the same thing, and he said the same thing. He goes, no. And I was like, what if they were guys that were top contenders? He's like, okay, no, yeah, that I could do.
No
way.
No, I question my coaches. I questioned my coach the other day and said, "Hey, man, how long are you gonna do this thing? Because this next generation doesn't they don't get it as much as us guys who I'm 36 years old. Like I've been in the game for a long time. Like the threshold at which hard work starts and ends, the dedication to the sport. I have a hard time with it. I've trained all over the country, East Coast, West Coast. Friends with a lot of fighters, obviously trained with a lot of fighters. It's hard to find somebody who has the standard of professional-ism that's really living the sport like I think is sufficient. Maybe
who's the hardest worker you've ever trained with? Another fighter. If you had to pick one.
So just purely from a training standpoint?
Yeah.
I'll put three people in a bucket probably. Like I would say Dominic Cruz, I would say Kamaru Usman, I would say Gilbert Burns. Those are three guys that I would see consistently pushing themselves and throwing themselves into the fire. Where maybe it was overtraining at some point. I almost don't respect somebody unless I could say, that dude might be overtraining right now. He might be overdoing it. Because to me, that's the base level. That's the base layer, the foundation of where you need to be to be a hard worker, in my opinion. Like I was that guy. My coach in college had to kick me out of the room some days. He'd say, nope, you're not training today. You're taking the day off, and then I'd sneak a run in or something. Like there's just guys like that. I'll put those three guys in a bucket. Very good bucket.
What do you think about we could do this conversation, then I'll let you get back to your day. So what do you think about after watching Kamaru and after watching Khamzat and Gilbert, what do you think a Kamaru and Khamzat fight looks like?
It's hard, man. Obviously there was questions that were answered about Khamzat, a dude who starched everybody in the first round. I honestly think that's a crutch. I don't think that's a good thing for anybody. I was like that. My first 12 fights, I had like 10 finishes in the first round, which awesome. You hype train big time, but you don't get the minutes the rounds into the sport to mature and to blossom and to second guess yourself. There was moments there where Khamzat Chimaev finally second guessed himself. I know he won the fight, but if you watch it on TV and you see him, he's got his hands on his knees, head's kind of down a little bit, like, I don't know if I want to be here. And then
I saw a moment live where I said to the guy next to me who's there with me, who knows the game, it was like in the middle of the second round, and I was like, did Khamzat just take a backward step? Like not a backward step, like a strategic backward step, like a backward step, like I need to step out of the fire for a second. And I'd obviously never seen him do that, where it was like, you could just see it. You could see where he was like, holy shit. Like,
yeah. And this is a beautiful thing, and this needs not to be taken as us criticizing him. We're not demasculating him by saying, oh, he took a backward step, or oh, he looked like he was defeated on the stool. You need these moments to have, and then get your wits back about you, and then go back into the fire. And then when you get done with the fight, you get your hand raised and say, dang, I just seasoned myself. I was just galvanized in the fire that we just had.
Yep.
So now you think about Khamzat. Perfect example, Logan Storley. You know who Logan Storley is? He's about to fight MVP for the Bellator title in a week after me. His last fight against Gracie was the first time he had a 5-round knockdown, drag-out, standing war. Logan Storley had never done that. He got a couple sets of stitches. He got hit a couple times, realized he wasn't made of glass, realized he could go out there and not just wrestle guys. He's a 4-time All-American wrestler. I train with him every day. He's one of my best friends. And I said, man, I know there was moments in that fight where it would have been a little bit easier to just wrestle, but now you've become a seasoned veteran. This was a tearing of the veil moment that you're moving into the next realm of your career. So back to your question. Now we've seen Khamzat in the fire. We've seen how he's responded. He responded well. I mean, I can tell you this. I trained with Kamaru yesterday. I can tell you this. I've trained with Kamaru on and off for years. The dude is the real deal from a physical gift standpoint, from a fight IQ standpoint, and from a championship mentality standpoint. I think Kamaru would go out there. I don't necessarily think that he would finish Khamzat, although obviously we've seen his chin be tested. He got, face down, butt up in the fight against Gilbert, which a lot of guys have. I probably would if I sparred with him, but I avoid him on sparring days because he hits too hard. So I think Kamaru goes out there and would just kind of systematically dismantle him. I don't think he would necessarily get the finish, but it would be a 5-round dominant unanimous decision.
Yeah.
My opinion.
See, I think he would starch him, and only because you could just see like Kamaru's style. He throws those real crisp, straight down the cock, murderous punches. Like the one, I mean, the one he hit Masvidal with is probably the cleanest, most perfectly placed power shot I think I've ever seen anyone land in mixed martial arts. And Khamzat has kind of like, he's got like a really powerful but kind of loose style that I just think, and Gilbert still kind of throws, he's a little bit more this way than right down the cock the way that Kamaru is. And I was watching that just like, man, I think Kamaru's going to land a lot of those shots just right down the middle.
Yeah, and Kamaru is there with zero emotion in the fight. That's where he separates himself. And Khamzat is still very green. He might be the number 2, number 3 ranked welterweight. He might have just beat Gilbert in a fight of the year, but he's still very green. And as I said, when you look at his body of work, although it is extremely impressive, and it's why we have so much hype behind him, he's had so many quick finishes, so many dominant victories that he hasn't quite seasoned himself yet. If I'm Khamzat, honestly, I fight someone else before that. So we'll see. Colby. Yeah. Well, I think he will actually. They're going to make him fight Colby. They're going to make him fight somebody. So Vicente Luque fights this weekend. He's a training partner of mine, friend of mine. That dude's one of the greatest strikers on the planet. I would love to see that fight, Luque versus Khamzat, because then you're putting yourself like Gilbert. Gilbert is a great striker, a dangerous striker, but Luque is just as dangerous, just as powerful, and is a little bit more crisp in his exchanges and in his combinations. That would be a heck of a fight as well. So we'll see. 70
is stacked, man.
Stacked, man. Not as stacked as 155, the greatest division on the planet, but
55 is obscene.
I'm joking.
55 is obscene. 70 is obscene. 135 is obscene. Volkanovski's cleared out 45, but
they're all obscene. What we're seeing is this emergence of new guys coming in who have put themselves in legit superstar positions, and then you still got guys like who I fall into where it's like the Masvidals and the Kamarus and like these guys who are a little bit that 32, 33, 34, 35-year-old that they're still competing at an extremely high level. There's just the range of the depth of each division, and each one of the top 10 guys and gals are superstars. And that's time under tension inside the UFC. That's what the UFC can do for you. You get on this huge platform, and it's just a matter of time before the stars continue to shoot.
Yeah. And this is the first generation that's grown up as mixed martial artists from day one. Not like, I was a jiu-jitsu champion, then I took up, striking. It's like there's now this new thing where they knew they were going to have to know everything from the beginning,
Yeah. I still think wrestling's the way to go, but
the data would support that, dude.
Yeah.
The data would certainly support that.
There's nothing that'll turn you into a champion like wrestling. So
yeah,
that's what I would say.
Well, my daughter's a jiu-jitsu champion, so there's no wrestling yet for her, but soon enough.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Future champion.